de Ridder, he just did a big interview, and this was great, right? He's on Fight Week, so there's a lot of media. He was talking about the Fluffy fight. Talking about how he got there and what that represented. He was talking about agreeing to that fight. He even said very nice things about Fluffy and talked about himself and how hard he was having to train from a cardio standpoint because he was dealing with Fluffy. So he's getting ready for this fight. His phone rings. The fight's off. Then Paulo Costa's name gets suggested, and he likes Paulo Costa. He's a fan. He knows how good Paulo is at coming out and building a fight, and that is the thing that intrigued him. And I think he called it fun. He goes, so because it's Paulo, he's a fun guy. This is going to be fun. I like how he worded that. Like, that just cuts to the chase. Fair enough. And then he moves on and says, we end up with Brendan Allen. And what RDR liked about the fight, and one of the reasons that he agreed to the fight, was the date. He just thought the timing and everything, and I love when an athlete talks about that, because now they're talking about them. And they are the only one that they can control. So I really like the mindset into RDR, but I have now told you the entire story. 1 minute, 3 seconds later, I've told you the entire story. Why is that relevant? It's relevant because there was one thing left out of the story that we've all been wondering, is this part of the story, which is, were you promised a #1 contenders spot? Back when it was you and it was Fluffy, was there a promise of a #1 contender spot? Because generally the way the UFC would work, if something on their end changes, nothing on your end does. Which would mean if RDR was told, if you go out and beat Fluffy, you will fight for a title. If he was told that. Turns out this isn't what happened. If he was told that. Generally speaking in the UFC, if Fluffy came down but you remained, you did your part, the deal that you were promised still stays good, and it just would transfer to Brendan Allen. Now, would that also be true for Brendan Allen? Would he also be in a #1 contenders match? And that's something that we have in our sport, and we fully accept it, but it is unique to our sport, which is a #1 contenders match for one of the athletes is a common thing. A #1 contenders match, regardless of the outcome, therefore for both of the athletes, is a more uncommon thing. So, all right. When I heard the statement by RDR, that was the biggest takeaway that I had. And if RDR has not been told that this is a title fight, and according to his story, which, by the way, I get that he could have left things out, but according to this story, and he was pretty thorough. He talked about where he was and what it was like when the manager called, and the preparation that he was going through with Fluffy, and how much he liked Paulo Costa, and how he thought this was going to be fun, and he transfers over to Allen. He talks about how great this was, and it was the date that he liked the most. He seemed like he was pretty thorough in this timeline, and I am accepting of that timeline. But I do believe if he wasn't told this, if these conversations didn't happen, if that isn't the ticket that was handed to Fluffy, if that's not the ticket that was handed to RDR, it would just seem to me that Imavov is now the #1 contender, because that hasn't been made official either. I believe that Imavov is going to fight Chimaev for the world championship. I believe. But that hasn't been announced, and it's not as though you guys have this big mandate and you're out there demanding it. Therefore, it leaves a door open. If you have a plan for somebody to fight for a championship, but that deal is not done, it leaves the door open. And that is now my biggest question. Is that door in fact left open? Perhaps Imavov has different information he's already been told, but if he hasn't, then RDR could be in a #1 contenders match and just doesn't know it. Most #1 contenders matches do not get announced ahead of time. We, as the public, generally come out and go, well, the winner of this will be fighting for a belt. We love to do that, but we do that almost every Saturday. What does this mean? Performance gets done. We forgot every other fight that we've ever seen. We've only seen that. We're drunk on excitement, right? We're high, caught up in the bliss of being fight fans and something great that we saw. That's the #1 contender. If the guy's already the champion, that's the greatest fighter of all time. Like, this is a very common thing that we do. Could RDR be in that spot? Would you rather, and you're the ones that are going to decide, would you rather see Chimaev versus Imavov? Would you rather see Fluffy get one more chance, get that turned around? Or Fluffy goes right now. He's won 8 in a row. Or would you rather see with a victory RDR? Or am I being rude and I'm leaving somebody out? such as Allen, if he was to get a victory. It's an interesting spot, middleweight, and Chimaev has not spoken up. Chimaev used to be great at communicating with us. He used to be great at it. And when he was hungry and he wasn't the champion, boy, he was letting you know, I want to be anybody, any weight class. He was really letting you know. We've taken that from him. We've taken that ability when he achieved the goal. So we don't know what Chimaev's thinking. We don't know what's going on at middleweight. We don't have tremendous clarity. But whether RDR is in a number one contenders match or not, it is relevant. Has Imavov been informed that he is the number one contender? Because if he hasn't, whether RDR knows this or not, this bout is in play. And all a guy needs is hope. A guy doesn't have to have clarity in an answer. He just has to have hope. And I don't know that RDR quite realizes that he's in that spot with a victory. Very hard to imagine with a victory, but with a victory. RDR, who's already in strong positioning, right? And you Fluffy fans, you won't like this. I understand that. I don't make the rules. I'm just sharing with you. If two guys are scheduled to fight and that fight doesn't happen, right? Whoever doesn't, the other guy gets credit. If this comes down to a battle of RDR versus Fluffy for the mandate of the masses, RDR will get the credit. They had a fight. RDR showed up. So in some ways, he'll get a little knock on the Fluffy door on that and a victory over Allen. RDR versus Imavov have similar resumes right now, but Imavov wins because of octagon time. It'll be very interesting. With a good performance, I'm not ready to yet tell you that RDR can't still come in and steal the Chimaev fight. Middleweight has been very quiet lately, but it's very deep. RDR versus Allen is very pivotal for what happens next.